Hey there, fellow wanderers. Tonight, we find ourselves transported across time and space to the vast expanse of the Mongol Empire under the rule of the infamous Genghis Khan. Picture endless steppes under a sky streaked with orange and purple. The grass sways with the wind, carrying whispers of thunderous hooves and history-shifting conquests. You're not in a storybook now. You're in a world shaped by ruthless power, extreme endurance, and loyalty tested by blood and fire. And truth be told, you probably wouldn't last a day. If this kind of brutal beauty intrigues you, like this video, subscribe, and drop your location and current time in the comments below. Dim the lights, let the fan hum like wind over the steppe. Let's begin. You find yourself standing on the rugged terrain, feeling the sharp bite of the wind that's neither gentle nor forgiving. This empire, the largest continuous land empire in history, stretches from modern-day China to Eastern Europe, demanding not just a robust physical fortitude, but a psychological one too. You can almost hear the hoofbeats of 1,000 horses as nomadic warriors charge across the plains, the earth trembling under their power. Settling into the mindset of a Mongol warrior isn't merely about wielding a weapon, it's about adopting an entirely different lifestyle. Forget the comforts of modern living. Here, you live under an endless sky, relying on skills honed over a lifetime. The might of the Mongol Empire lay not only in its military prowess, but also in its ability to adapt swiftly to any environment, to live minimally yet grandly. You'd need to learn to navigate this sprawling domain without the aid of GPS or modern maps. Remarkably, the Mongols achieved a level of connectivity through their sophisticated communication and supply networks, ensuring that messages could traverse their lands in record time. This was perhaps only rivaled by today's technology, a true testament to their innovative cunning. Imagine yourself in their world, rising with the dawn to tend to herds of sheep, goats and horses, which were the lifeblood of the Mongol livelihood. You might enjoy a curious beverage, fermented mare's milk known as ayag, said to be both intoxicating and nourishing. Unlike today's almond lattes, this drink is an acquired taste and essential to your survival out here. However, it's not all rough riding across picturesque landscapes. Genghis Khan's empire was cemented through blood, sweat, and iron discipline. To truly imagine surviving, you must adopt their resilience. You would be required to familiarize yourself with a code of laws known as yasa, which bound the Mongol people, creating order amid potential chaos in their sprawling territories. Historians still argue whether yasa was purely a set of laws, or if its origins were more loosely based on oral customs and principles. Either way, adherence was non-negotiable for any self-respecting Mongol, ensuring cohesion among varied clans that could have easily fallen into disarray. Also crucial was your aptitude at horseback archery, a skill every Mongol mastered by the age of 4. Comical, perhaps, to imagine yourself awkwardly wielding a bow atop a galloping horse. For the people of the steppes, it was second nature, like breathing. And in this world, a skill that made a clear difference between life and death on the battlefield. The empire's governance stemmed from Genghis Khan's ability to unite disparate tribes under his leadership, transforming them into a potent force. Forget the keyboard warriors. These were real warriors who navigated alliances and enmities that could shift with the seasons. Your everyday survival hinges on blending seamlessly into this nomadic society. Sleeping under star-laden skies, you might doze, accompanied by the sonorous lull of a distant river. Learning stories woven into the constellations by elders around a campfire could be an evening ritual when the wind would no longer chill your bones. Although you may not last 24 hours under these conditions, the exercise of imagining yourself embodying a Mongol's resilience might be enlightening, even if only to appreciate the softness of the bed you'll eventually return to. Soon, modern problems will fade, replaced by thoughts of what it took to maintain such an expansive empire, demanding not only muscle but strategy. Not just willpower but diplomacy. As our journey begins here upon the Mongolian steppe, remember that the tribulations faced by Genghis Khan's warriors were as much about survival as they were about legacy. Would you survive it? Maybe not. But it's a journey worth pondering as it reshapes the boundaries of your imagination. So, as you lay back tonight, let your consciousness drift. Feel the expanse of history blend with the quiet of modern life, and ponder how components of the world we know today were forged under the weight of Genghis Khan's empire. Sweet dreams as you embark upon this intriguing historical voyage. To truly appreciate the formidable world of Genghis Khan's empire, you must confront the harsh Mongolian climate head-on. Imagine you're bundled in layers of fur and felt, but you still feel the pinch of an unforgiving cold seeping through, laced with the howl of relentless winds. Stretching out as far as the eye can see, the landscape is vast and stark, alternating between a glittering white expanse in the brutal winters and a dusty brown during the sweltering summers. You're learning the hard way that this isn't a climate for the fair-weather adventurer. Temperatures here can tilt from one extreme to another, ranging from the blistering heat of 38 degrees, 140 degrees, to a toe-numbing 40 degrees, 40 degrees. The Mongols, however, had a knack for thriving where others would merely survive. Consider it a historical testament to ingenuity, layering clothes made from various animal hides to trap heat efficiently and crafting portable shelters known as yurts to withstand the tumultuous weather. Picture yourself inside one of these yurts, the air heavy with the earthy scent of burning dung fuel. This pungent form of heat becomes a welcome reprieve when the winds are mercilessly howling outside. Between bouts of tending to livestock or preparing meals, you might find yourself practicing the art of repairing yurts. Physical endurance, matched by mental agility, constantly adapting to the roaming whims of the steppes. Historians still argue whether the climate served primarily as an obstacle or if it challenged the Mongols to develop their unrivaled mobility and adaptability. After all, their entire societal structure was tailored to weathering these punishing elements. It's been said that the harsh environment served as a baptism by hot and cold fire, forging some of the most resilient people history had ever known. On a clear day, as the sun cuts through the crisp air and the frost glistens like diamonds on the steppes, you'd find the tribe commuting across the wide open spaces. The horizon stretches on endlessly, shifting from barren tundra to lush grasslands, illustrating nature's whimsical brushstroke across this land. It's this openness that the Mongol warriors came to embody, with hearts as tenacious as the lands they roamed. But weather wasn't the only test. The unyielding elements demanded acute awareness of surroundings, and nature itself could turn treacherous in an instant. Mistakes in navigating icy terrains or anticipating snowstorms could mean the difference between survival and catastrophe. You might feel a bit like a character out of a survival reality show, except there are no safety nets, and every decision bears weighted consequences. While the smallest of modern weather inconveniences often draws our ire, the Mongols viewed these harsh elements as a familiar dance partner, stepping through seasons with a deft, practiced grace only born from necessity. Their resourcefulness was evident in every aspect of their lives, from the insulated garb they wore to the oral traditions that kept the knowledge of survival alive, passed down from generation to generation. The biting cold wasn't just a backdrop, but an immersive experience. Enough to spurn warmer fantasies, but grounding in its reality. You can almost feel the frost etching its mark on your cheeks as you ride across the steppe. The hoarfrost clings to your eyelashes, and your breath escapes in steamy bursts that vanish into thin air. It's humorously quaint to think of the portable hand warmers and electrically heated garments we have today. Back then, warmth began with the skin of sheep or camels, and an understanding of the push and pull dynamic with their natural world. They thrived under conditions that leave us packing extra layers just at the thought of it. As the seasons change, the nomadic migration offers different challenges. Names of places and people weave into stories of survival amid summer's scorching haze. The dry dust clings to your skin, accenting the new landscape hues. And yet the will to adapt, even relish these varying conditions, becomes a character test, leading to mighty tales shared by fireside, seasoned by the constant pulse of wind. Remembering as you tuck into bed, where climate control is just a dial away, that the essence of Mongol resilience is still a potent force across an empire. How they thrived seems both distant and deeply resonant in our collective human endeavour to conquer and coexist with the natural world. Now, as the day winds down, let your mind wander back to the Mongolian steppe. Feel the echo of the wind in your ears, as if it tells stories from 1,000 years past, drawn from the land that knows no boundaries. Woven into your dreams are the legends of those who walked and rode before you, their spirits etched into the fabric of an eternal landscape. Sleep will now come more easily. Saddle up as you step into the realm of Genghis Khan's empire, where survival hinges on your mastery of horseback riding and archery. Imagine feeling the solid connection between you and your steed, a living extension of your own body, moving as one across the vast steppe. The Mongols, revered as master horsemen, deftly maneuvered horseback, turning what feels daunting to you into elegant choreography. In this world, the saddle is your throne and the horse your steadfast companion. From the earliest age, Mongol children were introduced to these magnificent creatures. Picture yourself as a child of the steppe, practically trotting before you're walking, learning to balance astride a galloping horse, the wind trying to steal your breath in the exhilaration of speed. This isn't a mere leisurely ride through the countryside. It's about evolving into a warrior who can muster a flurry of arrows mid-gallop. Mainstream knowledge tells us that Mongolian warriors were unparalleled in their military prowess, largely because of this skill. You'd need to master the short composite bow constructed with sinew, horn and wood, a weapon that could be drawn swiftly and loosed effectively even while riding. But let's say your first attempts at horseback archery are more comical than competent. You struggle, fumbling the bow as you try not to bounce out of the saddle. It's a balancing act both physically and artistically, requiring the kind of coordination that would make even a modern-day gymnast envious. Rest assured, the Mongols honed this skill to an art form, a valuable asset in the empire's rapid and relentless expansion across continents. You grasp that this marriage between rider and horse went beyond battlefields. In everyday life, the horse was an indispensable partner in travel and communication, especially in a terrain as expansive as the steppe. The horses had endurance akin to the warriors who rode them, capable of travelling upward of 150 miles a day, surviving on natural grasses found on the trail. Historians still argue whether the Mongols' lightning-quick assault capabilities derived more from their exceptional cavalry tactics or sheer determination fueled by necessity. Either way, this symbiosis of horse and rider altered the definition of mobility and speed in warfare systems globally, catching many enemies off guard with their unorthodox but effective methodologies. In the saddle, you learn another aspect of Mongol ingenuity, the ability to shoot an arrow in any direction while riding at breakneck speed. A quick pivot left, then fire forward, backward, or even pivoting with your body to shoot sideways, all seamlessly executed as if guided by muscle memory alone. This skill confounds foes who find themselves under attack quicker than they can assemble their defenses. Yet, you can't help but marvel at their strategic brilliance. Mongol warriors would employ feigned retreats, only to return in full force, a tactic confounding their adversaries and enabling decisive victories. You realize that behind the brute force lies a sophistication in strategy comparable to a high-stakes chess player who sees dozens of moves ahead. And let's not forget the idiosyncrasies like the Mongol appreciation for fermented mare's milk, often handily stored in specially designed leather bags by their saddles to sip on long rides. You might grimace at the thought of the tangy liquid, but the nutritional value is indispensable when on the move, miles away from settlements. You entertain a fleeting, hilarious image, trying to update your social media status while galloping across the plains, without dropping your phone. Absurd, obviously, but it might make for an interesting modern-day stunt. It all underscores the truth that mastery over these horses was more than a mode of transport. It was lifeblood, identity, and the very way of life in Genghis Khan's empire. So, as you lay back, allow yourself to visualize being part of that imposing cavalry. Feel the beat of fictitious hooves reverberate through your being, manifesting the Mongolian warrior's unyielding spirit. Maybe you're still clumsy with a bow, but consider it an act of homage to a slice of history where adaptability and tenacity ruled unyieldingly. As the rhythm of the ride ebbs away, let yourself drift into a quieter place, where the only gallop left is the gentle trot of thoughts winding down for the night. Rest easy, cradled by this tapestry of history, which whispers its stories as you dream of distant lands and grand adventures. With each step you take further into Genghis Khan's empire, the art of Mongol warfare confronts you with its unyielding brilliance and brutality. Imagine yourself standing among a horde of Mongol warriors, witnessing their unique tactics and strategies that reshaped entire landscapes. These warriors weren't merely soldiers, they were a symphony of discipline and innovation. Wielding not just weapons but the art of psychological warfare, you're now amidst men and occasionally women harshened by the steppe, whose rugged resolve is matched by tactical finesse. The core of Mongol success wasn't just physical might, but an overwhelming psychological advantage. As a part of their army, understanding these tactics is as essential as surviving each skirmish. You might find yourself involved in an elaborate scheme known as a tulugma, or the battle encirclement, where speed and deception can picture riding in seemingly endless circles around your enemies, showering them with a relentless storm of arrows until their formation breaks. Consider that mainstream historical fact. The Mongols are credited with refining and revolutionizing the concept of mobile warfare. Unlike their more static European and Asian counterparts, Mongols raided in phases of unsparing precision, mainly thanks to their nimble cavalry units. In your mind's eye, you see the chaos unfold, the helm of seasoned generals maneuvering entire divisions silently under the cover of night, artfully outflanking even entrenched opponents. It's that mix of speed and deception that is crucial, a principle mastered by none better than the Mongols. Imagine your adversaries in disarray, struggling to predict your next move, much like someone trying to anticipate the plot of a nail-biting thriller with endless twists. Historians still argue whether these tactics were adapted from nomadic hunting methods or refined through a comprehensive understanding of ancient Chinese warfare principles. No matter the origin, these strategies positioned the Mongol army as an unstoppable juggernaut across regions once thought impenetrable. The realm of warfare with the Mongols was also about understanding terror as a tool. Positioned now within their ranks, you see campaigns designed not just to defeat but to dominate psychologically. The mere whisper of their approach often led cities to surrender without resistance, spreading tales of brutality that penetrated enemy lines before the first arrow was ever loosed. At a campfire, you hear stories of the Mongols' infamous Yam system, a communication network that maintained their tactical agility by ensuring swift relay of orders across vast distances. This network operated somewhat like a medieval version of texting. Need to reposition troops? You'd rely on this system to guarantee information-defied distance, arriving faster than anticipated, often altering the very fabric of engagement before the first charge began. One quirky tidbit swirling around the fire is soldiers' alleged use of packs filled with small animals to set alight and release into towns, sowing chaos and fear. You're petting a little critter, imagining the scene, partly horrified, yet unable to dismiss such resourceful cunning displayed as necessity for victory. In this environment, you have to break free of conventional battle wisdom. Picture the dragonfly's delicate rapid flight pattern, chaotically beautiful yet laser-precise. That's the Mongol approach, an ever-shifting formation leaving adversaries bewildered, one moment here, the next vanished, only to reappear incisively elsewhere. Within you, there's this growing awe, not just of the tactics, but of the discipline these warriors embodied, trained from youth to respect hierarchies and strategic thinking over sheer bloodlust. Each maneuver a chess move, every advance a calculated strike. In modern war games, strategies developed in the Mongol era still inspire contemporary military schools, illustrating the everlasting imprint of their prowess on global tactics. At this moment, as a make-believe Mongol warrior, you begin to appreciate what power truly resides in the blend of intellect and courage. As daylight wanes, the battlefield slowly fades into an echo in your mind, leaving you with a sense of respect for these historical tacticians who turned adversity into strength. Imagine the final scenes in this saga, as camaraderie rekindles around crackling fires, the evening sky a canvas of stars mirroring the radiant reflection of victory and survival. So now, as slumber calls, let your spirit rest peacefully in the quietude forged by these whispers of history's grand symphony. Like the Mongol conquerors settling by their campfires, allow their wisdom and innovation to guide you into realms of rest, where dreams are the hidden battlegrounds of renewal. As you unroll the next chapter of life in Genghis Khan's empire, imagine plunging into the rhythmic dance of the nomadic lifestyle, an endless cycle of movement and resilience. The sky above remains your steadfast guide, its stars offering directions more reliably than any Google Maps ever could. Crafted as a part of a flowing tapestry, your days and nights weave into the season's ebbs and flows among the vast grasslands. Picture yourself, a nomad, shepherding your modestly sized herd of livestock across the open steppe, the low hum of the wind your constant companion. Living in a yurt or gur becomes the norm, a feat of engineering crafted to withstand the insistent tug of nature, portable and durable, much like the tribe itself. The nomadic lifestyle is a genius exercise in adaptation, a survival strategy honed over centuries. You rise with the dawn, performing tasks that are delicate yet demanding, tending to animals, repairing clothing, and ensuring your yurt can brace against upcoming weather. Each task a cog in the wheel of life's necessities. But let's not romanticize overly every benefit carried equal hardships. Living nomadically meant navigating more than just physical terrains. You constantly thread through a mosaic of tribal affiliations, adapting to local vagaries and rhythms, reflecting a broader societal understanding that transcended individual tribes. Feel the shifting grass underfoot as you break camp, lifting poles wrapped in felt and deftly assembling your portable home. You become part of this choreographed disassembly and reassembly, aided by skilled hands that have long understood that permanence is found not in buildings, but in community and kinship. Mainstream narratives often oversimplify. Here, the choice isn't one of novel indulgence, but an unwavering commitment to adaptability. Though abundant perseverance is built into this nomadic existence, there's solace in the freedom it offers. Your boundaries marked by the horizon, untethered to any one plot of land. The earth itself becomes your painting, endless in possibility. Picture the symphony of life echoing around you. The intermittent bleat of sheep, the lowing of cattle, or the playful neigh of a spirited horse, each sound creating an intricate harmony with the land. Occasionally, light is cast upon unique, more quirky practices. Mongols, for instance, believed in the protective power of certain stones, traditionally referred to as talking stones, carried during migration as tokens of safety and favor. You clutch your own talisman, a comically exaggerated modern gesture akin to carrying a Lucky Charm keychain, only with profound cultural roots anchoring it. Nevertheless, the nomadic lifestyle wasn't all pastoral splendor. Mobility meant vulnerability, particularly to judgments and prejudices from sedentary societies, often labeling Mongols as barbarians without recognizing the nuanced understanding of landscapes and resources their lifestyle required. And within your tribe, communal living doesn't mean endless harmony. Hierarchies abound, tensions simmer, and complex alliances form, often shifting dynamically to create tenuous balances or unravel into tensions when pressures rise. This diplomacy weaves another layer of survivalism, as crucial as learning the migration paths of the steppes wildlife. Historians still argue whether the Mongol Empire's notorious expansion, the blending of rule, faith, and culture into often opposing societies, was driven by necessity or opportunism. Yet, these debates reflect the vibrant complexity that made their way of life an enduring bedrock, resilient to the test of time. Imagine the weight of tradition accompanying each step into the unknown, dictated by necessity, rhyme, and legend. To live this life meant accepting both its transience and the profound timelessness it entailed. Before long, the gusts of impending change would whisper in a language that only you and kin seemed to understand, urging another pilgrimage across new frontiers. As you prepare to nestle down for the night inside a snug yurt, feel the whispering tales of ancestors interwoven into its fabric, urging your imagination into echoes of laughter and firelit stories passed down through generations. The vibrant legacy of the nomadic lifestyle still hums beneath your surface, cradling you gently into slumber. So, rest easy, with dreams of open skies and limitless horizons guiding your quest for place and purpose in a journey unrestrained by boundaries. As a cog in the grand machinery of Genghis Khan's sprawling realm, you find yourself constantly interfacing with both allies and adversaries. The Mongol Empire wasn't built in a vacuum. Rather, it was crafted amid a complex web of relationships with neighboring tribes and emerging powers. If you intend to survive in this intricate social structure, understanding these dynamics is essential. Where alliances can be as fleeting as the steppe winds and rivalries as ancient as the hill, picture yourself sitting in a council of tribal leaders, the air charged with political maneuvering, akin to modern-day negotiations but with far sharper consequences. The Mongols excelled at strategizing these alliances, employing diplomacy as a sharp tool in their expanding empire. You'd have to tread carefully here, where a misplaced word can shift allegiances as easily as a loose arrow in battle. Tribal feuds were common, rooted deeply in both legend and recent skirmishes over resources. You are part diplomat, part warrior, mastering the art of measured speech and veiled intentions. Imagine negotiating not just for territory, but navigating the ego-driven rivalries that fester quietly beneath every council gathering. In these moments, your ability to read faces becomes as critical as your skill with a bow. This mosaic of relations is ever shifting. Here's a mainstream historical nugget. Genghis Khan's ascent was in part due to his remarkable ability to unify these tribes and direct their rivalrous energies towards a common goal. The alliances were actions of both grand diplomacy and tactical marrying. Genghis himself was known for integrating his family into key unions, ensuring more tightly bound familial ties across previously dissenting tribes. These political negotiations often took the form of symbolic gifts, whether in the form of prized horses or treasured fabrics, to seal agreements and show goodwill. Ironically, the Mongolians, often seen as brutal conquerors, emerged as skilled diplomats when the situation demanded. As you watch this delicate balance unfold, you notice tensions simmer quietly beneath the surface, ready to flare into open conflict should diplomacy fracture. Historians still argue whether these rivalries were more politically motivated or held roots in cultural and spiritual differences. Each tribe maintained unique customs, faith practices and idols, contributing diverse tapestries to a singular quilt of Mongol identity. Recognizing these distinctions is critical, should you wish to navigate this hodgepodge of humanity successfully. Alongside complicated politics, you'll occasionally witness intriguing fringe beliefs, such as the Mongolian notion of sultan, the spirits associated with revered ancestors and certain geographical locations. They're said to protect or wreak havoc depending on the homage paid. Alignments with these spirits were considered part of maintaining favorable relations, another quirk for your expanding mental map of survival strategies. Envision a world where these negotiations are part chess, part poker. Calculations and reads, risks and bluffs, all while maintaining a visage of unity. This cosmos of contradictions forces you to straddle not only your horse, but the tense line between historical enemies and potential allies. A comedic side emerges, imagining the difficulty of cultural exchanges, where misinterpretations could be disastrous. You might inventively attempt to mimic unfamiliar customs, much like modern-day tourists wading clumsily through unfamiliar rituals. Yet these small interactions became decisive links in a chain of unforeseen outcomes. As we draw closer to the quiet simmer of evening, the day's rhetoric still reverberates around your campfire, amid hums of livestock settling for the night. The significance of these exchanges is not lost on you. The only constant in the chaos of shifting allegiances is the unwavering cycle of negotiation and reconciliation that dictated the rhythm of Mongol life. As the fire's embers grow dim, you feel the intricacies of relationships line your and the land's pulse, fostering dreams of genial council doors swaying in rhythm to the steppes' timeless tune. Let those rhythms cradle you into symbiotic calmness, readying your dreams for a dance guided by the steppes' ancient wisdom and foresight. Stepping deeper into the heart of Genghis Khan's empire, you find yourself confronting the critical challenge of Mongol nutrition. Imagine days spent traversing the steppe, where your diet is not defined by indulgence but by necessity and sustenance. The essence of survival here is penned in meat and dairy products. Logically efficient, given the nomadic lifestyle dictated by livestock and the ever-roaming horizon. At the crack of dawn, you start your daily rituals, the first being the milking of mares. Accustomed quickly to the tangy fermented beverage known as aerg, you savour its unique fusion of effervescence and nutritional heft, essential given your reliance on this caloric cornerstone. Aerg might taste startling to your modern palate, accustomed to soy lattes or oat milk, but its value is as a source of energy and slight merriment is undeniable. The Mongols showcased a masterclass in dietary resourcefulness. Herds of sheep, goats and camels represented not just resources, but lifelines. These animals provided everything from milk to meat, their hides crafted into everyday items. You soon realize that making do with limited ingredients was an art refined over generations, proteinous and direct, ensuring the fierce physicality required for the demanding nomadic life. Imagine sitting down to a meal under the vast sky, nestled around a bubbling cooking pot, one sooty with soot from the organic fuels beneath, its savoury aroma wafting toward your senses. Though luxurious in scope wasn't an option, traditional dishes like boar-dried meat preserved for long journeys emerged as culinary stalwarts among the steppe communities. In the midday sun, the harshness of dietary simplicity becomes apparent, but lean sustenance was not unusual. This diet mirrored the distilled essence of practicality, devoid of grandiosity, yet rich in cultural influence. Thrifty cooks knew how to optimize the most banal elements, a philosophy that has survived millennia, deeply rooted in today's culinary traditions. You can almost hear celebrities today pushing paleo diets without acknowledging the pragmatic roots from which such ideas sprang. Unexpectedly, the whimsy of Mongolian meals contained their own version of quirks, one being their use of animal blood, added to clear soups for nutrition, resembling a rustic form of nose-to-tail preservation seen in modern sustainable food movements. The Mongol diet, simple in components, was creatively varied, paving way for boundless preparation methods. Mealtimes were communal gatherings where stories meld with sustenance. As you sit with your fellow nomads, you are drawn into conversations, weaving through legends of ancestors, traveling merchants, and local hunters. Historians still argue whether Genghis Khan's army moved in search of better pasture lands out of nutritional necessity or imperial ambition. Either way, food played a crucial role in propelling their feats. Each expedition renewed appreciation for modest comforts. A hot broth, bread made from coarse grains, or comforting cheese known as arul, made from curdled milk. Imagine tasting something akin to today's hard cheese, but sun-dried and hardened over weeks. You're unsure whether to nibble or knock on it, ultimately shattering its resistance with your back teeth. The tang scrutinizing yet deeply satisfying. Though legends sing of grand conquests colored in epic hues, surviving on the harsh terrain necessitated a symbiotic relationship with the land, a continued embrace of what was immediately available and adapting for potential deficiencies. In this sense, food not only sustained the body, but unified tribes, creating cultural law through shared meals. As you sit back, contemplating the simplicity of their lifestyle, a modern reminder whispers through as you imagine your refrigerator at home, overflowing with choice, diversity, and abundance, a luxurious burden unknown to the Mongol warriors who thrived on discipline. Swaddled in the dimming afternoon sun, the flicker of ancestors' shadows long past threads through your thoughts. At peace with the muted coloring of their world and its powerful, sustenance-driven songs, drift seamlessly into that time, with admiration and respect for a world perfectly poised amidst necessity and ingenuity. In their narrative, find your own rhythm, to carry you gently into the restfulness of night. As your journey through Genghis Khan's empire deepens, you're drawn into the mystifying realm of spirituality that is shrouded in as much practicality as it is in mystery. Welcome to the world of Mongol shamanism, where religion threads through every aspect of life, deeply influencing culture, decisions, and survival strategies on the sprawling steppe. Imagine the vast expanse overhead. The sky worshipped not merely as a celestial dome, but as Tengri, the eternal blue sky, a central deity in Mongol belief, symbolizing supreme, limitless power. You find yourself a part of a culture that sees no divide between the natural and supernatural realms, but a seamless, unending cycle, where every element from earth to sky whispers with spiritual significance. Every clan has its shaman spiritual leaders, intermediaries between the ethereal plane and the tangible world. Picture them clad in robes adorned with feathers, bones, and bells, their rhythmic chants suspended in crisp air, a cadence weaving sacred connections between people, spirits, and land. You're not just an onlooker, but a participant, feeling the reverent energy during a shamanic ritual. These rituals are believed to influence everything from predicting the future to protecting tribes from looming threats. You might laugh at modern parallels, a tongue-in-cheek nod to contemporary divination, but carried out with sincere reverence among the Mongols, for whom the stakes were tangible and immediate. In many ways, these practices rival the intensity of modern-day belief systems, despite being outside today's mainstream perpendicular lines. The Mongols espoused incredible religious tolerance because of their shamanistic roots, leading to a unique empire where various faiths could blossom under the embrace of common themes: the earth, sky, and interconnected spirits. Garbed in mystical traditions, you soon find yourself considering diverse faiths as complementary rather than adversarial. Buddhism, Christianity, and Islam were all allowed to stretch their roots, further enriching the empire's cultural tapestry. Historians still argue whether Genghis Khan's unifying vision of the Mongol Empire was intertwined with a spiritual mandate or sorely rooted in political acumen. Regardless, the empire's unprecedented expansion resonated with synergy. Only a harmonious coexistence of beliefs and manifest destiny could conjure. Let's dive into a quirky tradition, the practice of placing ovus, ceremonial stone heaps, atop high passes and mountain summits. Can you imagine yourself adding a small rock to one, quietly asking for blessings or a safe journey, a solemn pause in an otherwise brisk daily pace? This gesture becomes emblematic of your connection to something larger than yourself, binding travelers and warriors alike across the rolling expanses. The elaborate rituals often accompanied the life milestones with an intricate mix of belief and practicality, an echo of today's graduation ceremonies or weddings, but layered with deeper cultural resonance. Each step, word and gesture immersed you further into a belief system that functioned both as a moral compass and a survival map in a challenging environment. As evening beckons and the wind stirs the grass into wave-like rhythms akin to the sea, you feel the presence of so many who walked these lands before. You unknowingly adopt these ancient practices. You taste the air, mirrors your intentions against the stars, perhaps murmur a prayer to the pervasive blue sky. There's something fundamentally soothing about folding into this spiritual fabric, the heavy presence of sacred traditions lulling you into a sense of calm, reminding you of the peace drawn from interconnectedness. It's the subtle difference between seeing the world as a constellation of isolated phenomena or a seamlessly interwoven mosaic. Peace resonates meaningfully with the overarching whole. Before sleep claims its tender domain, think on these ancestral practices that guided more than just the sword. Be they earthy shaman chants or stone heaps that dot the landscape, the beliefs winding their way through Mongol life still sing softly through time's constraints, leading you to dream in layers cloaked in star-dappled skies and whispering winds. Allow this intricate dance of faith and survival to guide you gently into your nightly rest. As dawn breaks over the vast Mongolian steppe, your thoughts turn to the origin and meteoric rise of the formidable leader who would sculpt a disparate array of tribes into one of the greatest empires the world has ever known, Genghis Khan. You step into his tumultuous world, feeling the pulse of potential and conflict that would ultimately birth a leader of unparalleled sagacity and force. Born as Temujin near the banks of the Onon River, you imagine the early struggles that shaped his childhood. Imagine a young boy, small against the expanse of Mongolia, wrapped in furs against the biting winds, and marked by the memory of betrayal and survival. His father, poisoned by rival tribes, left Temujin's family in an exposed and vulnerable state at a tender age, a start that might break others but served as a catalyst for his relentless ascent. His early years were shaped as much by hardship as by resilience. Visualize the numerous challenges that pockmark his formative years, from feuds with neighboring tribes to the harrowing capture by enemies. Surviving these ordeals forged within him a core of indomitable will, much like contemporary leaders who rise from adversity, their narratives becoming legendary in scope. Genghis Khan's rise was not just about brute strength or unchecked ambition, but about harnessing the power of human networks. His uncanny ability to navigate tribal tensions, forge alliances, and earn the unwavering loyalty of followers transformed him from a hunted boy into a dynamic leader. Imagine being a part of this inner circle, entrusting your fate to his strategic visions that promised glory and unity against common foes. Aided by wisdom gleaned from trusted allies, including his blood brother Jamukha and later the iconic general Subutai Genghis, masterfully orchestrated the union of fractious tribes through calculated marriages and shrewd alliances. Leaders today might address boardrooms instead of battlegrounds, yet the principles underpinning Genghis Khan's ability to unify remain eerily comparable. Historians still argue whether it was his personal charisma or the societal chaos that most fueled his expansive vision for Mongolia, a vision that dared to encompass lands far beyond what most contemporaries deemed possible. Each action, each alliance, emphasized the ethos of meritocracy he developed, valuing loyalty and talent above mere birthright. Enter his charismatic wife Borta, a steadying force beside Genghis, whose influence extended beyond domestic circles into diplomatic spheres, and you begin to understand that the labor of empire building was not his alone. Her captivity by the Merkites early in their marriage only underscored a life where personal stakes and political expediency were constantly interwoven, forever coloring Genghis's approach to leadership. Juggling sagacity and pragmatism, Genghis Khan dismantled the entrenched aristocracy of feuding tribes, weaving together a formidable army knit with a shared identity anchored in his sweeping legislative reforms. Yasara Code, both feared and revered, became the spine of this new empire, illustrating a rigid yet innovative approach to governance. His military prowess can't simply be encapsulated in tales of conquest. It encompassed fostering loyalty within ranks by ensuring soldiers' families were cared for and elevating men of talent regardless of their origins. Not unlike a present-day leader building a team based on skill rather than nepotism. A decision reflecting understanding that a true coalition requires diverse strength. Temujin, now Genghis Khan, meaning the universal ruler, had risen like a tide, washing away insular divisions, daring to etch his people's story onto global consciousness. Standing atop a windswept hill, you can almost hear his voice riding the zephyr, echoing resilience, complexity, and a ceaseless drive. As the day softens into the amber hues of evening, you find yourself contemplating this multifaceted leader's journey. In your mind, you're wandering shadowed steppe landscapes, tracing the footprints of an empire birthed not from might alone but a profound understanding of unity's power. Lay your weary head to rest and breathe deeply of those sweeping winds whispering through the grass. Let them carry within their wisdom the echoes of a boy turned ruler, a legacy forged meticulously on fields of promise and conflict, broken yet solidified within the dreams of conquest. Allow these timeless tales to guide you gently into the embrace of night steel and spirit coalescing into repose. In the shadow of Genghis Khan's indomitable legacy lies a lesser-known yet equally pivotal aspect of his empire, the intricate web of laws and customs known as yasa. As you delve deeper into the empire's fabric, you find yourself sharply aware of how these codes shaped the Mongol world, maintaining order amid the vast territories and unruly steppe. Imagine standing in a tent, the air thick with tension as tribal leaders gather to hear the proclamation of new decrees. Yasa, though often veiled in mystery and legend, served as the spine holding the sprawling empire together, guiding both highborn nobles and humble herdsmen. This wasn't just a set of rules. It was the ideological framework echoing Genghis Khan's vision of unity and structure amidst potential chaos. The laws of Yasa were not penned down in tomes, but passed orally, a living narrative meticulously upheld by memory, a stark contrast to modern legal systems, overflowing with verbose documentation. As you shift from tent to open plain, you're ever mindful that this order was meant not just for governance, but for survival, both individually and collectively. One mainstream historical reality about Yasa was its apparent focus on the collective over the individual, a notion resonating with many modern-day communities seeking cohesion and harmony. Imagine the mandatory promotion of religious tolerance and protection of envoys, echoing parallel values in today's quests for global understanding and diplomacy. Among the whispers of its clauses, you might find rules emphasizing family loyalty, the distribution of loot, and even benefits for widows and children of fallen warriors. Picture an avenue of law designed not just for warfare, but compassionate cohabitation, distinctly delineating the line between warfare's grim necessities and internal societal justice. Historians still argue whether Yasa was a concrete legal code or a loosely organized system comprising various customs and decrees that melded over time. Whatever its origins, its implementation shaped practices and policies that helped sustain Mongol hegemony long after Genghis Khan's immediate successors had spread the empire's reach further across continents. The distinct exclusionary punishment for theft, you might find it startling how rigorous the enforcement was held to safeguard one of society's most sacred bonds. Trust break this through theft, and punishment was harsh, for the fallout potentially endangered entire communities within the nomadic lifestyle centered on shared resources. Now, envision secluded discussions, where legal disputes blur with diplomatic talks among the Khan's inner circle, all with the intent of upholding the axiom that peace internally was chief to strength externally. In these circles, cunning strategists aligned closely with forceful warriors, recognizing that legal codes served as much a shield as sword. A curious crossover among Mongolian customs is the practice of Andaha, sworn brotherhood pact, bearing similarities to blood brotherhoods globally, emphasizing dual loyalty both to kin and chosen ally, and allegorical feudal linked-in heartening alliances. As you ponder these bonds, they remind you of contemporary networking but clad in allegiances bound by life's trials rather than software algorithms. In the backdrop, you hear murmurs of recited laws, repeated with rhythm like ancient verse, ensuring that no deviation could transpire unnoticed. Compliance and justice became the undercurrents fostering not only a territory, but an ideology refined and revered as essential to the empire's strength and longevity. The evening closes in as the sun dips beneath the wide horizon, allowing you to feel the steady rhythm of the Yasa's intent weave into your thoughts, a reminder of humanity's perennial dance with order, justice, and balance. With each breath, the step resonates with the hushed echoes of these timeless decrees, carried across centuries like a whisper of continuity preserved beneath the celestial vault. Lay your mind at ease among these ancient yet familiar rhythms. Allow the calm to envelop you, a cocoon shaped by laws and legacy, where whispers of Yasa still reverberate through history's silence, compelling you into dreams grounded centuries deep, with structures providing both strength and sanctuary, tenderly guiding you to rest. As the landscape shifts before your eyes, the sheer scale of Genghis Khan's empire comes into sharp focus, largely owing to his unparalleled blend of diplomacy and ruthlessness, a duality that both perplexed and subdued entire nations. Imagine stepping into the shoes of one of his envoys, imbued with both authority and the spectre of retribution. Your presence echoing the intricate dance of negotiation woven with the sword's shadow. The Mongols, though formidable in battle, were not just warriors, but strategists who wielded diplomacy as effectively as any weapon. Picture the exchange of gifts and envoys, the deliberate gestures of goodwill among potential allies meant to gather intelligence and assess vulnerabilities. These meetings might take place beneath elaborate silk tents, fertile grounds for burgeoning alliances, or the quiet unraveling of enemy resolve. You'd have navigated this complex web with care, understanding that Genghis Khan had molded his diplomatic corps into extensions of his will, channeling the empire's omnipotence through calculated assertion rather than blunt force alone. Similar to the delicate finesse in modern international diplomacy, this adeptness in negotiations preserved strength without expending resources in prolonged conflict. One mainstream fact about Genghis Khan's approach is his implementation of meritocratic values. Unlike many contemporary powers, he promoted individuals based on ability and loyalty, often irrespective of their geographical or social roots. This created a tapestry of allegiance stretching wide, offering his empire the robust framework necessary to thrive in ever-expanding complexity. Imagine contemporary boardrooms striving to replicate this blend of diversity and loyalty, a blueprint for success still resonant today. However, this path of diplomacy was underpinned by an equally pervasive ruthlessness, as any refusal to submit often brought swift and devastating retaliation. The spectre of destruction loomed as a very real consequence, ensuring neighbouring states and kingdoms understood the stakes when engaging with Mongol ambassadors. Refusing diplomatic overtures wasn't simply a diplomatic faux pas, it courted catastrophe. To illustrate this, envision yourself standing in a fortified city watching Mongolian forces encircle its walls. At the first refusal of alliance, these walls become your potential prison, subject to the features of Mongol ingenuity in siege warfare. Understanding this, many rulers yielded to diplomatic overtures before any arrow flew, a testament to the weight behind a Mongol envoy's soft-spoken words. Historians still argue whether Genghis Khan preferred negotiations over outright warfare, or if diplomacy merely set the stage for inevitable conquests. Either interpretation leaves a legacy where persuasion and power worked symbiotically, maintaining a unique order. Occasionally you'd encounter quirky instances of diplomacy, like the gifting of exotic animals or the mingling of artists and craftspeople through cultural exchanges. Each token held deeper significance, painting the landscape with broader strokes of cultural awareness and mutual curiosity. From these stirring interactions, alliances emerged that stretched the boundaries of economic exchange, enriching the Mongol Empire in ways that brute strength alone never could. The diversification of crafts, technologies, and ideas began to thread through the empire's fabric, adding depth to its already resilient structure. As dusk melts into the horizon, imagine yourself walking toward a tent where the negotiations have unfolded through the day. The crisp air carries peace, a peace won not by the unsheathed sword alone, but by words echoing quietly across tongues, quelling fears and fostering nascent alliances. It is now evening, a time for rest and reflection beneath the canvas of star-dappled skies, as you muse on diplomacy's role in this grand theatre of empires. As you slip into sleep, remember the cadence of negotiations, both gentle and assertive, that steered a colossal destiny upon this chessboard of earth. Let the rhythm of these endeavors whisper through your dreams, softly blending the art of mediation with tales of old, coaxing you into a restful embrace that bridges history's lessons with your subconscious reveries. As you step further into the intricate workings of Genghis Khan's empire, you find yourself delving into the ingenious communication system that wove the Mongol dominion into an interconnected behemoth. Imagine the rolling expanses of the steppe, the terrain stretching wide with paths invisible to the untrained eye, yet binding cities, villages and tribes with an unseen thread of information racing along the empire's length and breadth. Welcome to the Mongol Yamen, early version of a postal system dreamed centuries ahead of its time. You stand at the edge of one of these relay stations, vibrant hubs of activity situated every 20 to 30 miles along well-trodden routes. Horses and riders converge here under a common purpose, delivering messages with speed that rivals even today's rapid exchanges. You can almost feel the pulse of urgency beneath the station's roofs. A courier arrives, breathless and dust-covered, quickly exchanging his mount for a fresh, rested horse. In a matter of moments, he's off again, galloping toward the horizon, his saddle laden with fateful missives that carry the weight of empires. Picture this as a centuries-old version of express mail services. Orders and messages traveling through this network like synapses across the vast imperial brain. The success of such a system lay not just in its efficiency, but in its design. Built for speed and reliability, the YAM system ensured unbroken communication even across the most inhospitable landscapes. It was said that a rider might cover over 200 miles a day, an astonishing feat achieved through meticulous coordination and logistics. One mainstream historical insight into the YAM system is that it functioned not merely for military communication, but also for merchant transactions and intelligence gathering, a critical artery through which the lifeblood of the Mongol Empire coursed. Imagine a modern network, humming with the same blend of official, commercial, and personal communications, each thread reinforcing the integrity of the whole. Moreover, these routes allowed for safe passage of merchants and goods, facilitating the flow of trade and cultural exchange. International messages dispatched along these routes spread ideas, innovations, and news, a precursor to the globalization efforts and communication networks we recognize today. Yet, not everything about the YAM was strictly utilitarian. Thanks to its reach, it also transported more whimsical items, such as rare manuscripts or exotic animals, their presence elevating the mundane to legend through distant lands. You might chuckle at modern equivalents of overnight shipping for a surprise gift or the sharing of viral videos across continents. Trivial yet emblematic of technological achievement and human connection. Historians still argue whether the YAM was a wholly original invention of the Mongols or a clever adaptation of preceding Eurasian systems. Regardless, the Mongol version illuminated a strategic acuity that embraced best practices while adapting them to the empire's unique needs. Imagine if history had left behind an Instagram feed of couriers documenting their travels along the route, as extraordinary as it had been daunting. Riders sometimes faced adversaries or adverse weather, requiring steely resolve and an unerring focus on their duties, lest communication falter with ramifications fast-reaching and immediate. As the sun dips lower, shadows stretch across the steppe, and the chatter of station life grows softer. You sense the unyielding presence of this network channeling messages beneath the serene veneer of night. The murmuration carries on quietly, a testament to human ingenuity ensuring continual progress, its whispers orchestrating the empire's pulse. In your mind's eye, visualize the night roll out like an offering, an endless sheet of existence awaiting the next dawn's messengers. In this restless world, the lines of communication never sleep, and even as you rest your weary body, they continue their dance across the eternal steppe. Let the soft resonances of history's unending dialogue guide you into slumber. Trace the faint echoes of hooves and rustling papyrus, weaving themselves into your dreams, bringing assurances of continuity and connection across time and space, offering peace till the morning light beckons anew. As the vast Mongol Empire sprawls before you, imagine yourself standing at the intersection of continents, where Genghis Khan's dominion redefined commerce and trade along the storied Silk Road. Picture strings of caravans laden with silk, spices, and other exotic treasures, traversing dusty roads, all under the vigilant watch of Mongol protection. This ancient trade route, stretching from China through to the Mediterranean, brought more than just wealth. It wove a tapestry of cultural exchange, binding disparate lands under a shared destiny. You find yourself stepping into the rhythm of these routes, where the clinking of camel feet through sand and whispers of merchants bartering their wares heralded an unprecedented era of global interaction. The Mongols, astute in exploiting the Silk Road's economic potential, understood that commerce was as powerful as conquest, something to be nurtured within the empire's vast embrace. Imagining the bustling bazaars, you see a kaleidoscope of colours. Textiles from Persia, silver from Europe, and jade from the Orient, all shimmering under the sun's embrace. Here, trade routes became lifelines, not just in material terms, but as conduits of knowledge, art, and scientific thought. Visualize sipping fragrant tea as strangers of diverse origins exchange ideas, stories, and technologies across these miles, a precursor to today's global village, where information flows boundlessly. One mainstream historical truth is that, under Mongol administration, trade flourished as never before. Genghis Khan's policy of religious and cultural tolerance encouraged a melting pot environment where innovations and philosophies were exchanged freely. Imagine today's internet, where a cultural blend reshapes modern societies as direct descendants of the Mongols' encouragement of global interconnectedness. These caravans didn't just carry spices and silk, they carried whispers of invention and philosophy, tales of distant lands, and legends of renowned leaders. The empire became fertile ground for the cross-pollination of cultures, with silk weaving through it all, both literally and metaphorically, a metaphysical thread connecting realities across its territories. A curious tidbit involves the Mongols adopting paper currency, perhaps intriguing to you given the modern world's complex financial instruments, facilitating safer, more efficient trade through battle-scarred lands. This concept of fiduciary currency replaced cumbersome goods with lightweight exchange, enabling merchants to negotiate deals with less risk from pirates or thieves. Historians still argue whether the Mongols' emphasis was on economic expansion or whether they serendipitously embraced the route's vital arteries as they marched across territories. Either way, these pathways fueled an economic renaissance unknown to prior-era constructs, an enduring legacy that threads through today's modern trade networks. During your imaginary walk within these historic crossroads, merchants hustle through crowds, shouting in a symphony of multilingual negotiations, showcasing wares with dynamic showmanship. Picture this, an amalgamation of cultures, polo or merchants from Venice, Arabian traders, Chinese silk artisans, all forging transient yet impactful bonds, guided and guarded by Mongolian prowess. Yet do not imagine it as solely chaotic commerce. The Silk Road enabled the absorption of religions, sciences, and technologies like astronomy from the Middle East or papermaking techniques from China, fostering a uniquely enriched landscape within Mongol lands. From their broad lens, the Mongols facilitated this exchange not as an external service, but an integrated empire dichotomy, promoting prosperity alongside their martial conquests. As twilight descends, a sense of peace settles over the route, a tranquility marking the end of day's trade, where the rustle of bartering fades into the soft storytelling by campfires. Travelers and merchants gather in clusters, recounting the day's successes or mishaps, weaving their own narratives into the epic and ongoing story of the Silk Road. Let the quiet echo of history accompany you, as evening overtakes the silk-lined roads. Through dreams, follow the map of Kashmir and spices, ideas and innovations. Imbue yourself with the interconnectedness bridging past and present interpretations of commerce. As you drift into sleep, let these echoes guide you to a place of calm and continuity under starlit skies, weaving dreams of shared human aspirations and futures. As you traverse the expanse of Genghis Khan's empire, you stumble upon the heart of its military prowess, innovative siege warfare that would make many fortified cities tremble. Imagine a proud city standing defiantly, only to face the relentless advance of Mongol forces who turned siege tactics into a devastating art form. The methods they employed were as varied as the landscapes they conquered, yet singularly focused on swift, often overwhelming victory. You can almost feel the earth quiver beneath the advancing army's weight, where strategy merged with brute force. Imagine yourself amidst these warrior ranks, following generals who commanded an orchestra of siege engines, mangonels, trebuchets, and catapults, their silhouettes stark against the horizon, ready to unleash chaos upon once imposing city walls. Part of the Mongols' genius lay not only in their direct assaults, but also in their ability to adapt and incorporate the best of what they encountered. Picture engineers from across the empire, assassins' apprentices plucked from defeated armies, contributing their own regional expertise to the Mongol war effort. They adapted siege tactics from the Chinese, perfected them through battle, and added innovations learned from Persian engineers. In a way, the Mongol battlefront became a place where hybridity thrived, each conquest bringing with it new insights. One mainstream history tidbit reveals the Mongols' scrupulous use of psychological warfare during sieges. You would hear tales of smoke and fire tactics meant to sow fear, convincing citizens they faced an invincible force and pushing them towards surrender. Rather than costly prolonged engagements, the Mongols preferred cities to capitulate under the threat or initial demonstration of overwhelming might. The sheer resourcefulness of Mongol engineering often bewildered opponents. Imagine historical narratives evolving, depicting not just hordes of horsemen, but meticulous planners, capable of intricate stratagems that belied their nomadic origins, shrining the sophisticated tapestry of military innovation underpinning Mongol success. Though ground level marked chaos, above loomed the all-seeing eyes of commanders on elevated positions, surveying the landscape like chessboards, calculating moves not just in overt brute force, but in resource and psyche management. You might equate this mental alchemy to modern-day strategic planning, finding parallels in businesses primed to outthink rather than outmuscle their competitors. See them implementing one of their key strategies, the use of Karash, a team of captured locals forced to march at the siege's forefront, absorbing the brunt of defensive fire and easing the approach for Mongol warriors. Harsh and pragmatic, this eviscerated defenders' resolve, the harsh calculus of sacrifice for strategic gain. Historians still argue whether these relentless tactics reflected inherent strategic genius or merely opportunistic adaptations. Regardless, they testified to a fierce efficiency that overwhelmed conventional warfare norms, compelling opponents to rethink defense methods. The Mongols did not just overthrow cities, they subverted traditional military paradigms and remolded them in their image. Inside your mind's eye, vivid tales of endurance and ingenuity swirl, recounting how the Mongols would even manipulate water sources to starve resistant residents into submission, maximizing besieged exhaustion. Instead of sheer attrition, they manifested practical psychological acumen in siegecraft. As twilight envelops the battlefield, the last light gleams on distant helmets, as conquerors rest before the dawn's renewed energy. The sounds of clanking armor quiet, leaving a tenuous hum of anticipation marking fortifications on the morrow. Quiet now, the storm stills. As you prepare for rest, allow the echoes of historical ingenuity and strategy to resonate in your thoughts. Contemplate the resolve and resourcefulness that marked each siege. Lessons threading military prowess with governance, leaving an indelible imprint sealed into spiral ramparts of empires long past. With time's story holding you closely, relish in the rhythmic beat of past achievements lulling you into peaceful respite. Let the dreams softly unfold like strategies whispered under moonlit canopies, guiding you gently into slumber's embrace, with peace guarded by Genghis Khan's enduring legacy. As the saga of Genghis Khan's empire unfolds, the often overlooked yet pivotal role of women within this dynamic tapestry emerges. Women who wielded influence quietly beneath the surface, shaping the very course of Mongol history. Envision yourself inside a bustling gur, where the scent of cooked meat mingles with the earthy aroma of felt and leather, and the sound of laughter interweaves with the clatter of cooking. Women in the empire were far from mere bystanders. Imagine yourself engaged in the everyday life of Mongol women who played vital roles in society, from managing family affairs to influencing political decisions. Take Borta, Genghis Khan's beloved wife, who balanced the blades of diplomacy as she advised on matters of state and soothed tribal tensions. Her presence was both a stabilizing force and a beacon of unity amidst the tumultuous Mongol rise. In many ways, Mongolian women were pioneers of gender roles that modern society still struggles to balance. Tasked with not only caring for households and livestock, but also stepping in as warriors or leaders when necessary, they embodied a flexibility and strength respected by all in the tribe. Imagine a modern-day CEO who effortlessly juggles multiple roles, commanding respect in a male-dominant industry, drawing a line back to the strength and adaptability of Mongol women. Mainstream historical fact echoes how Mongol women often managed land and animals, an exercise in leadership and practicality that belied the perception of a solely male-dominated empire. Picture these women with hawk-like perception as they tracked the health and welfare of their herds, a critical element in the survival of their nomadic society. Under the shadowy expanse of the Mongol Empire, these women's influence extended further than home fires, often onto horseback, where they exhibited remarkable prowess. You can almost see them riding with the wind. Arrows nocked as they practiced the same archery skills honed by their male counterparts. Their knowledge of the terrain, weather patterns and survival strategies contributed profoundly to nomadic life. A quirky yet compelling tidbit emerges from Mongolian traditions: the rigorous wrestling matches for suitors. Women could proclaim their choice of husbands by testing them in feats of strength and guile. Imagine the layers of strategy and skill these matches required, subtly empowering women to control their marital futures through raw strength or subtle negotiation. Historians still argue whether women's roles in Mongol society directly mirrored those in Eastern or Western civilizations at the time, or if this management was an ingenious adaptation to the environmental demands of nomadic existence. It reflects the Mongolian ethos, where capability often superseded rigid gender norms, allowing women to step effortlessly into positions of power and influence. Beyond the battlefield and household, women played integral roles in sustaining the empire's spiritual heart. Picture a grandmother passing down shamanistic rituals, or a mother instilling spiritual beliefs into the next generation, weaving a spiritual safety net through storytelling and tradition. Much like today's cultural custodians, passing legacy through narratives and faith. As evening descends and the campfire embers glow softly, the voices of history rise. Mongol women thoughtfully shaping decisions and destinies, mentoring children who would one day carry the baton of survival and continuity. Their presence echoes in the quiet, a tapestry interwoven through every facet of empire and everyday life, enveloped by the gentle night, where shadows stretch long across the steppe. Allow your thoughts to reflect on the resolute strength and silent influence these women embodied. Relax into the notion that beneath every empire's visible might lay hidden hands of balance and wisdom, crafted by those who deftly coloured its foundation with nuance and fortitude. As you sink into rest, let the whispers of their legacy stories wrap softly around you, guiding dreams in serene reflection on timeless tenacity and grace. Drift earnestly into slumber, embraced by the gentle strength echoing from a world where women quietly conquered hearts and land with wit and warmth. As gleaming dawn spills across the boundless steppe, the Mongol Empire unfurls before you as a canvas of diverse cultures, drawn together under the magnetism of Genghis Khan's rule. Imagine stepping into a bustling outpost along the Silk Road, where merchants and travellers converge to trade not only goods but ideas, religions and customs, enriching the Mongol tapestry with vibrant threads of foreign influence. The Mongol Empire functioned as a vast cultural melting pot, its borders expansive enough to embrace an array of voices and visions. Picture yourself surrounded by artisans, scholars and traders, eager to share their unique expertise or acquire newfound knowledge. Within this dynamic exchange, Buddhism, Islam, Christianity and native shamanistic beliefs circulated, finding fertile ground to blossom or adapt in the hearts of those curious enough to explore. You see more than wares exchanging hands. Languages intertwine like melodies played by unseen instruments, creating an ever-changing rhythm of interaction humming through the marketplace. History tells us that the Mongols were connoisseurs of ideas, adopting innovations that enhanced their governance and military might. Part of this allure lay in their charismatic embrace of cultural elements, melding them seamlessly with existing traditions. The mainstream historical fact is that the Mongols practiced a rare religious tolerance, empowering scholars and artists across the empire to engage freely, their creative energies contributing to an unprecedented cultural renaissance. Imagine this freedom, a space where calligraphy, music, painting and architecture were redefined, enriched by the intermingling of East and West. Ancient practices and fresh insights. Visualize yourself in a moment of rest, sipping tea in a bustling caravanserai where the conversations of explorers like Marco Polo intermingle with stories recounted by traders from Persia or learned monks from Tibet. This heady concoction of knowledge and experience spins a modern parallel, a global conference where innovations and philosophies discover new frontiers and reshape our worldviews. The Mongol court, eager for insight, welcomed astronomers, mathematicians, and engineers whose crafts significantly impacted empire-building projects. The astrolabe, compass, and advancements in algebra and medicine all floated freely along these cultural highways, knitting scholarly networks with breathtaking ease across distances previously considered insurmountable. Historians still argue about the extent of the Mongols' cultural assimilation versus their role as connectors of existing cultural vivacity. The extent to which they actively encouraged cultural exchange or merely facilitated it by removing barriers continues to be a rich field of inquiry. Amidst open trading stalls, notice a whimsical anecdote. A Mongolian preference for blue fabric, an offshoot of their spiritual reverence for the eternal blue sky. Traders adapted, ensuring their inventories carried rich indigo textiles to meet demands, illustrating this blending of trade with cultural motifs. The exchanges weren't solely material or scholarly, but deeply personal as well. Across the empire, marriage alliances fostered cross-cultural ties, frequently blending Mongolian customs with newly encountered traditions. Imagine the fusion of wedding ceremonies and exchanges of gifts, where customary rituals blended seamlessly, establishing shared identities while honoring distinct heritages. Picture the evening drawing near, a gentle breeze carrying the faint resonance of a morin kur. The traditional horsehead fiddle, played amidst the echo of twilight. As the world eases into night, serenaded by melodies born of both steppe and sea, reflect on this convergence, a many-coloured dance under the expanse of the Mongol embrace. Allow yourself to be carried into the serenity of night, swayed by the harmony arising from ages past, an exquisite testament to adaptability and unity. Drift into restful repose, cradled by whispers of an empire that thrives not just on military might, but on innovation spun across the loom of cultural exchange and infinite possibility. In these dreams, explore the magnificent symphony composed by history's unyielding spirit, resonating through time's delicate grace. As the winds of time brush softly against your face in Genghis Khan's expansive realm, you find yourself pondering the intricacies of health practices and challenges that shaped the Mongol Empire. Imagine a world where survival often balanced on a knife's edge, requiring resilience bolstered by practical medicine, instinct, and tradition. Step into the flow of daily life, where health wasn't merely a matter of physical wellness, but a tapestry of spiritual and environmental harmonies. Picture yourself among the Mongols, whose lives were intrinsically tied to nature's rhythms, their health predicated on knowledge passed down through generations. You stand in a small yurt, warmed by a central hearth, observing Mongol healers deftly employing a blend of herbal remedies and ritualistic practices, tools of survival as much as the bow and arrow. One mainstream historical fact highlights that Mongol medicine often hinged on the use of fermented products, including Mari's milk, airag, believed to cleanse the body and strengthen the constitution. It served both as sustenance and a cornerstone in their health regimen, a curious parallel to today's probiotic trends celebrated for gut health. You take a sip, its tangy taste reminiscent of a rustic ancient kefir, appreciating how such simple elements formed the backbone of robust Mongol vitality. Healers also wielded fire and metal with skill, a hallmark practice being the cauterization of wounds to prevent infection, a painful but effective method attesting to their pragmatic approach to medicine. Meanwhile, amulets and charms found a place as metaphysical protectors against ailments, reflecting an intriguing intersection of the spiritual and physical, a concept that weaves its way through modern holistic practices. However, Mongol medicine wasn't without its challenges, particularly when facing epidemics. Imagine communities grappling with the fragile nature of health, where diseases swept mercilessly through, revealing weak points within the empire's resilience. These outbreaks tested their knowledge and adaptability, sending shockwaves across trade routes that linked them to far-flung lands. Historians still argue whether the spread of diseases like the bubonic plague was uniquely exacerbated by the openness of the empire's extensive networks, tracing routes from radar over Europe to shores of the Orient. Yet, in the heart of this uncertainty, Mongols maintained their itinerant approach, adapting victors whose methodologies echoed through centuries. Despite these adversities, the Mongols held on to crucial aspects of community-based care, akin to grassroots health initiatives seen today, ensuring individuals received attention from family and local healers, preventing the fragmentation of their societal fabric. Faced with limitations, They navigated these crises with unyielding resolve, their legacy leaving ripples of survival strategies impressed deeply into historical memory. Perhaps touching on a lighter note, it's amusing to think of their unique bathing practices, or rather, the notoriety for their infrequent bathing habits. To modern sensibilities, this may seem odd, yet viewed in the context of their time, it reflected a careful conservation of resources and a deep understanding of environmental limitations. You find yourself wrapped in a moment of meditation, under the star-studded expanse, considering the contrasting simplicity and complexity of Mongol health practices. In their resourcefulness, you glimpse the heart of an empire that champions survival through a profound blend of intuition, nature, and innovation, echoes from which modern minds can draw inspiration. As the light fades into the comfortable cradle of night, pause and appreciate the enduring spirit that bound the past to the present. Here, beneath the eternal sky arching omnisciently overhead, let the resonance of Mongol wisdom guide you, gently into a restful dreamscape, bridging millennia as you drift effortlessly on the Mongolian winds of timeless endurance. As the golden rays of the sun creep over the horizon, casting long shadows across the steppe, your thoughts turn toward the profound influence the Mongols had on the vast and ancient lands of China. Imagine stepping into this world, transformed under Mongol rule, a land where centuries-old traditions and innovations met the formidable force of Genghis Khan's legacy. Under the reign of Kublai Khan, Genghis Khan's grandson, the Mongol influence oozed into the heart of China, culminating in the establishment of the Yuan dynasty. Picture yourself amidst the grandeur of a bustling city like Dadu, modern-day Beijing, wherein a mosaic of cultures, languages, and customs converge, paving the way for a new era of governance and interaction. The Mongols, traditionally nomadic, found themselves firmly interwoven with the fabric of sedentary Chinese society. They embraced and adapted to China's sophisticated bureaucratic systems, blending their own customs with the intricate administrative structures that had long defined Chinese governance. Imagine stepping into the halls of power, where lords from the steppes rubbed shoulders with Chinese scholars, the dialogue a mix of innovation and tradition, sparking new governance approaches. A mainstream historical fact tells us that the Mongols, under Kublai Khan, implemented reforms designed to balance a diverse empire. They invited scholars and artisans from across the world, transforming China into a vibrant hub of cultural and scientific exchange. Imagine this intellectual cross-pollination, where the teachings of Confucian scholars mingled with more pragmatic and open Mongol perspectives. One quirky aspect of the Mongol influence included the adoption of certain traditional Chinese practices into their rule. For example, the Mongols found themselves intrigued by the Chinese love for tea, adopting this delicate brew into their daily ritual, a quaint intersection of cultural practices that would soon resonate across social strata. Yet, historians still argue whether the Yuan dynasty's policies reflected an authentic integration of Chinese customs or merely a pragmatic overlay to hold the empire together. The need to maintain dominance over such a vast and culturally rich land meant that the Mongols had to delicately balance authority with diplomacy. Imagine that you were observing the construction of the Grand Canal's expansion, a visionary project bolstering trade routes across China and strengthening the Yuan dynasty's economic prowess. Its completion was marked not just by technical brilliance, but also with the artistic flourishes the Mongols embraced. This marvel underscored their adeptness at unifying logistical and cultural elements, ushering in prosperity along these ancient waterways. The Mongols left an indelible mark on Chinese architecture too. As you wander through the imperial palace, notice Mongolian influences interwoven with traditional Chinese aesthetics, a marriage of form that both preserved and innovated. Works of art drew inspiration from diverse corners of the Mongol Empire, painting a rich tapestry across palace walls that mixed pastoral motifs with regal grandeur. Beyond the physical, spiritual exchange flourished under Mongol patronage, facilitating the spread of Buddhism while also accommodating myriad other beliefs across their vast territories. The Mongols' affinity for religious tolerance paved the way for broader philosophical exploration within China, allowing diverse spiritual traditions to cross-fertilize ideas and practices. As dusk falls and you follow the cobbled streets of Dadu, feel the pulse of this cultural crossroads, a booming metropolis where Mongolian warriors and foreign traders dine side by side under silk banners and lantern light. Conversations ripple through gathering places, each phrase adding richness to the cultural tapestry, a testament to the intricate blend curated between Mongolian influence and Chinese tradition. Contemplate the unified legacy left upon this land, one echoing long after the Yuan dynasty dissolved into history. As moonlight drapes over these lands, embrace the enduring legacy of this fusion between two great cultures, woven together by the hands of history. Let your thoughts settle into the peace of the night, reflecting the harmonious symphony played out across this expansive empire, an empire where distinct notes of culture and tradition melded into harmonious accord. Embrace the stillness of the evening, the cool breeze a reminder of continuity and change. Allow the whispers of past and present narratives to guide you gently into dreamscapes, where the world of Mongol and Chinese convergence unfolds its intricate splendor, wrapped softly around your resting soul. As the stars fade and the soft hues of dawn break across the steppe, your thoughts turn to the inevitable decline of the Mongol Empire. Imagine you are standing at the edge of a crumbling fortification, a relic of a once vast and indomitable empire that spanned continents and reshaped history. Despite its immense power and influence, the empire that Genghis Khan meticulously built inevitably began to unravel. The fall of the Mongol Empire was not marked by a single cataclysmic event, but rather a gradual decline fueled by a multitude of factors. Picture the vast territories stretching from the eastern steppes to the heart of Europe, ruled by a patchwork of khanates, each vying for power and autonomy as familial and internal tensions brewed just beneath the surface. The immense geographic expanse, once a symbol of strength, now became a logistical challenge of governance and control. Historians often cite the fragmentation following Genghis Khan's death as a pivotal starting point in the empire's eventual disintegration. As you ponder the shifting sands of political allegiance, imagine the Khan's descendants divided by ambition and vision, as they struggled to command the same unifying force he wielded. This fracturing meant that loyalty splintered as each ruling Khan sought to carve out autonomy over their regions. In the Yuan dynasty of China, you witnessed the cultural schisms taking root under successive rulers, unable to fully reconcile Mongolian governance with Chinese administrative methods, even as they grappled with burgeoning resistance from local populations. Nationalism began to stir among subjected peoples. Rebellions fermented amidst dissatisfaction with foreign rule. You can almost hear the whispers of dissent growing in intensity, challenging the authority of distant rulers. Meanwhile, the Mongol Empire's vast trade routes, once a bastion of economic prosperity, became conduits for crises that exacerbated existing vulnerabilities. You contemplate how the empire's interconnectedness, previously an asset, now facilitated the spread of the bubonic plague, wreaking havoc on populations and infrastructure alike. The once vibrant cities and bustling caravanserai fell silent under the weight of calamity. One quirky tidbit not often highlighted in the standard historical narrative involves the Mongols' attempts to innovate economically. For instance, their introduction of paper currency was met with resistance in a society deeply entwined with the tangible assurances of gold and silver. This economic instability further fueled the fires of discontent and fragmentation. Historians still argue whether it was internal strife or external pressures from emerging powers that more heavily tipped the scales toward decline. Whatever the causes, it became evident that maintaining such a wide-reaching dominion requires unity and adaptability, elements fractured by diverging ambitions. Imagine strategically perched forces at the empire's borders, feeling the encroachment of sworn enemies. From the burgeoning strength of rising European powers to the determination of resurgent Asian states, the air is charged with anticipation and potential confrontation. External military pressures continued to chip away at the Mongol frontiers, compounding the internal dissent already underway. As you wander through the remnants of an empire in its twilight, you hear echoes of a time when Mongol banners snapped proudly in the wind. The once tireless riders, now thinning ranks, betray a sense of nostalgia and inevitability that the boundless reach of the Mongols was pulling back into history's embrace. Dusk looms, the sun setting on fields that once vibrated with the pound of hooves, symbolic of the empire fading into twilight. Yet, even in its dissolution, the Mongol Empire leaves an enduring legacy, a reminder of the importance of cultural exchange, innovation, and strategic insight. As shadows lengthen and quiet descends upon the land, take solace in the notion that history remains a testament to resilience and rebirth. The whispers of the Mongol influence weaving through cultures, a muted chorus that underpins today's understanding of global dynamics. Allow yourself to relax into the embrace of night, the soft caress of a gentle breeze, a tribute to an empire's journey, one of rise and fall, strength and vulnerability, light and shadow. Drift into tranquility amid these ancient echoes, wrapped tenderly in the lullabies of history's quiet reverie. Let these stories cradle you into a peaceful slumber, reminding you that every end holds the seeds of new beginnings. As the last rays of sunlight retreat beyond the horizon, casting a golden glow over the steppe, your mind turns to the enduring legacy of Genghis Khan. A legacy that continues to resonate across centuries. Imagine standing at the center of this historical landscape, where one man's vision and strategy reshaped the contours of entire civilizations, leaving an indelible imprint on the modern world. Genghis Khan's legacy is woven into the fabric of history through a complex tapestry of achievements and impacts. You feel the vast expanse of his empire stretching across Asia and Europe, an empire that facilitated unprecedented levels of trade, cultural exchange, and military prowess. It was a time when the world felt interconnected in ways previously unimagined, and you sense how these connections are precursors to the global society we inhabit today. Through militaristic brilliance, Genghis Khan engineered innovative warfare tactics that remain studied and admired in military academies worldwide. You envisage armies moving like well-oiled machines across diverse terrains, a testament to the meticulous planning and adaptability that became characteristic of Mongol command. One mainstream historical insight is how Genghis Khan's strategies extended far beyond the battlefield. Imagine the deliberate cultivation of a meritocratic society, where talent and loyalty could elevate individuals regardless of their origins, a radical departure from the aristocratic norms of his era. This openness fostered periods of prosperity and innovation, where ideas and technologies from different cultures blended, propelling advancements in science, astronomy, and arts. Even in governance, the Mongol Empire introduced systems that emphasized efficiency and accountability, influences that echoed through subsequent generations. Think of the postal system, an expansive network that served as the backbone of communication, facilitating the swift transfer of information across vast distances. While the sweeping changes brought about by his conquests ushered in an age of enlightenment, they were also accompanied by tales of destruction and ruthlessness. Historians still argue whether Genghis Khan's ruthless military campaigns were a necessary catalyst for the cultural and economic growth that followed. The dichotomy of his ruling style, a blend of staggering innovation and unrestrained ferocity, fuels debates and reflections to this day. A quirkier aspect of his legacy involves his influence on genetic history. Recent studies suggest millions might carry genetic markers tracing back to Genghis Khan, underscoring his profound and direct impact on humanity itself, although this claim stands debated in scientific circles. As you ponder this tapestry, imagine the stir of nations drawn together by shared trade along the Silk Road, which facilitated intercultural dialogues that inspired today's ideological exchanges. Genghis Khan's empire might have faded, but its foundations gave rise to traditions, ideas, and infrastructures influencing countless societies beyond their time. As night deepens, you find solace in the understanding that the echoes of Genghis Khan's legacy remain vibrant among us, where shadows of his empire still stretch beneath our feet, a reminder of the connected world he helped shape. Breathe deeply as the final embers of sunset flicker out, the quiet whispers of the steppe carrying historical wisdom through the air. Reassure yourself that the stories of yesterday sculpt the realities of today, providing a foundation upon which our shared future will rise. Relax into this gentle embrace of interconnected history, letting the whispers of past and present guide you softly into sleep. With time slowing, surrender to peace, where the legacy of empires long past cradle you into tranquil dreams. Here, under the great eternal sky, let the rhythm of centuries carry you into slumber, comforted by the knowledge that our shared human tapestry is as enduring and boundless as the horizon itself. Greater than end of script. Sweet dreams. As you drift further through the annals of history, you find yourself considering how Genghis Khan and his vast empire have been woven into the tapestries of modern culture, scholarship, and media. Step into a world where the formidable image of the great Khan echoes across screenplays, lectures, and novels, each iteration casting new light on this historical titan. In film and television, Genghis Khan often emerges as the embodiment of both fearsome conquest and strategic genius. Picture him in modern narratives, clad in rugged armor, astride a powerful horse on a dusty plain, his image fading through lenses that romanticize and vilify in equal measure. These depictions, while often dramatized, illustrate the enduring fascination with his enigmatic character. Whether portrayed as a brutal warrior or a visionary leader, Genghis Khan's legacy invites endless interpretation. Literature offers similar dynamics. From epic novels painting sweeping landscapes of Mongol conquests to scholarly biographies delving into the strategic brilliance of Genghis Khan, authors grapple with his complex legacy. In these pages, you traverse narratives exploring the dichotomy of destruction and renaissance his reign inspired, examining whether his unified vision was driven by ambition or necessity. A narrative danced upon by academics and writers alike. The Mongol influence further creeps into video games, where players often navigate through detailed campaigns inspired by historical events, embodying figures and ideologies from this era. Here, your strategic prowess is tested, offering a digital narrative where victory hinges on authentic Mongol principles of warfare and diplomacy. Imagine yourself as a virtual Khan, your strategic choices not just a nod to history but an interactive study of leadership and legacy. Historians and scholars still argue about the portrayal of Genghis Khan in modern media, whether these depictions honor the intricate realities or simply mythologize for entertainment. There's an ongoing dialogue about how narratives balance the stark reality of his conquests with the profound changes they ushered in. A quirky presence in modern culture can be found in various creative retellings, including art installations, plays, and festival interpretations, where Genghis Khan is reimagined within contemporary settings, blending historic elements with modern commentary. These artistic expressions continue to blur the line between myth and reality, echoing how his influence still inspires curiosity and inquiry. In academia, debates surge through history departments across continents, where the legacy of Genghis Khan invites rigorous analysis and reassessment. Scholars dissect the strategies, motivations, and social impacts of his rule in lectures and papers, each perspective a prism offering new insight into the complexities beneath the empire's formidable facade. Consider documentaries that illustrate the Mongol invasion's impact, juxtaposing ancient ruins with modern cities that evolved within their shadows. These visual narratives strive for accuracy while exploring cultural transformations sparked by Mongol dominance. As you wander this multifaceted cultural mosaic, find yourself reflecting on how these representations, informed by diverse intentions and interpretation. Genghis Khan's story, woven through lenses of history and art, remains a testament to our collective yearning to understand power, legacy, and human nature. As evening envelops you, seasoned with ancient echoes and modern interpretations, let your thoughts wander alongside narratives grounded in both history and imagination. Envision the Mongol Empire's shadow dancing across this tapestry, inviting you to explore its influence through time's gentle embrace. Soften your gaze to the past and present stories entwined with this historic legacy. Let this web of narratives guide you into a space of reflection, a quiet corner where ancient conquests pave the corridors of modern imagination, whispering them softly into the depths of your dreams. As you sink into rest, acknowledge how history and myth together color our understanding of greatness and human endeavor, wrapping you warmly within the peaceful continuum of time. As the introspective fog of another dawn settles over your thoughts, you delve into the ever-deepening debate surrounding Mongol leadership, where Genghis Khan and his descendants have become figures of both admiration and contention. Imagine yourself in the midst of an animated academic discussion, a symposium of voices considering the multifaceted legacies left by these historical titans. The Mongol Empire's leadership is often at the heart of scholarly debate, dissecting the paradoxical complexity of rulers who both terrorized and transformed vast regions. Picture a room filled with esteemed historians and young scholars alike, each presenting theories and perspectives on how Genghis Khan maintained control over such an expansive domain. Here, the conversation swirls around the intricate mechanics of leadership, both harsh and benevolent. One mainstream historical discourse involves whether Genghis Khan was primarily a tyrant, driven by martial conquest, or a strategic visionary, whose ruthless tactics enabled long-term cultural and economic benefits. The robust arguments woven into these scholarly narratives explore the balance of fear and respect that Genghis cultivated to cement his authority while ensuring the loyalty of his followers. In your mind's eye, picture Genghis Khan, not only as a military genius, but also as a shrewd administrator who implemented governance reforms based on meritocracy, a revolutionary model for the era. His leadership style encouraged initiative and reward for loyalty, contrasting sharply with the hereditary hierarchies common at the time. A historical juxtaposition that, intriguingly, parallels modern leadership ideals advocating for innovation driven by merit. Historians still argue whether the Mongol rulers who followed Genghis failed to live up to his standard or adapted the empire to the changing landscapes of power and influence. These discussions range from the innovative governance seen under Kublai Khan's reign to the more fragmented struggles of later Khanates, seeking to assert individual dominance within the empire's vast scope. Interestingly, modern perspectives question if the Mongol leadership's infamy overshadowed the period's advances in culture, economy, and science. Picture heated discussions on whether the focus on conquest undermines recognition of the pivotal roles played by Mongol policies in the flourishing trade networks and cultural exchanges that redefined continents. One of the more quirky aspects of these debates involves examining the role of the Mongol women in leadership positions, both as precursory diplomats and de facto rulers during Genghis Khan's extended military campaigns. These interpretations offer a richer understanding of gender dynamics within political frameworks of the empire, challenging conventional narratives to present a more nuanced portrayal. As conversations pivot toward the moral implications of Mongol politics, such discussions often take an introspective turn, challenging scholars to reconcile the era's brutal realities with its indelible contributions to progress. You feel the intensity of these debates, recognizing that they illuminate the multifaceted nature of leadership, capable of both nurturing and destroying, preserving and dismantling. Consider the modern implications as leaders across various sectors study Mongol history, each learning from its lessons on adaptability, strategy, and cultural integration, while remaining wary of the consequences of unchecked aggression. Thoughtful examination of these historical figures compels us to redefine the tenets of power even today. As dusk approaches, imagine the exchanges winding down, echoing softly in lecture halls and libraries, a reminder that ours is not merely a story of past conquests, but a canvas for ongoing reflection. You understand these narratives as cultural conversations in which history breathes anew, continually reshaping our understanding of leadership and legacy. Allow these contemplations, rooted in time yet soaring through centuries, to guide your thoughts into night's tranquility. Let the deliberations on power, complexity, and oversight usher you into repose, where echoes of history sustain a tranquil dreaming space, harmonizing the cadence of legacy with the quiet pursuit of wisdom. As you slip into dreams filled with ancient landscapes and leaders long gone, know that each debate is a thread in the tapestry of our shared human journey, rich with inquiry and boundless possibility. As the soft hues of twilight cast a gentle glow across the expansive plains of memory, your thoughts turn to the myths and misconceptions that have shrouded Genghis Khan and his empire for centuries. These tales, embellished through the ages, have danced between truth and legend, crafting an image of Genghis that straddles the line between hero and villain. Imagine yourself witnessing a narrative unfurl where fact intertwines with fiction, creating a tapestry as complex as it is colorful. The legends surrounding Genghis Khan have often been cloaked in intrigue and mysticism. Picture ancient whispers evolving into grandiose tales, a Khan wielding not only unmatched martial skill, but also a near-mythical aura that supposedly bent the world to his will. His image as a merciless conqueror, painted vividly in many Western narratives, often overshadows the multifaceted reality of his empire, a place where scholarship meets nobility and military genius. One mainstream misconception is that Genghis Khan's success was purely due to his brutal conquests, neglecting the strategic genius and visionary governance that expanded his empire into a lasting legacy. He was not just a zealous conqueror, but also an astute leader who fostered trade, communication, and religious freedom, complements of the Mongol era that significantly informed the economic and cultural advancements of the time. A quirky myth suggests that countless invasions were driven solely by his thirst for vengeance against past wrongs, obscuring the broader strategic motives that defined Mongol expansionism. While his personal vendettas did sometimes play a role, the expansion was predominantly a calculated ambition for securing trade routes and influencing global geopolitics, a precursor to modern empire building. Historians still argue over many misconceptions propagated by biased chroniclers of the time, whose tales skewed perceptions of the Mongol invasions as monstrous swathes of destruction devoid of nuance. Scholars continue to unravel these colourful narratives, working to distinguish fact from embellishment and exploring whether Genghis Khan's more brutal acts are sometimes overly emphasized casting a shadow that obscures his achievements in governance and cultural syncretism. In some cultural retellings, Genghis Khan has morphed into a folk hero of sorts, an enigmatic figure whose exploits inspire songs, poems, and movies that romanticize his journey from the young Temujin to the legendary Great Khan. This transformation attests to the power of storytelling, where the boundaries between history and myth blur into narratives that speak to the universal themes of struggle, ambition, and triumph. Amid these stories, the legend of the secret history of the Mongols stands out, a text offering a glimpse into the Mongol world, depicting Genghis not just as a figure of force, but as a man of deeply human complexities and moral paradoxes. The document itself, shrouded in mystery and speculation, sometimes reveals more about the author's intent than the historical figure it chronicles. As night settles, you ponder the duality of Genghis Khan's image through the ages, a legendary leader cloaked in both glory and infamy, an icon whose story serves to caution and inspire, bridging the chasm between ancient narratives and contemporary moral reflections. In the glow of moonlight, acknowledge the myths that have shaped Genghis Khan's enduring legacy. Enfold yourself in the serenity found within this intersection of legend and reality, where stories weave a delicate balance between truth and imagination. Permit these musings to escort you into the gentle embrace of dreams, where mythical figures forge paths through historical landscapes, their whispers melding into lullabies of reflection and discovery. Embrace the comforting realization that, within the human journey, the stories we preserve and retell resonate with both historical insight and boundless possibility. Let them guide your thoughts softly into a night of restful wonder, where past narratives continue to illuminate the present and future with their ageless, evocative glow. As the first light of dawn stretches across the horizon, you find your thoughts turning towards the relevance of Genghis Khan's strategies and ideologies in contemporary times. Imagine yourself at the crossroads of ancient wisdom and modern applications, observing the enduring influence of Mongol innovations on today's global landscape. With Genghis Khan's principles echoing through centuries, envision how his approach to leadership and governance is mirrored in modern strategies. His emphasis on meritocracy, for example, resonates in today's corporate and governmental hierarchies that recognize the importance of promoting individuals based on talent and ability rather than lineage or connections. In boardrooms and battlefields alike, the idea of rewarding merit over heritage finds its roots in the same pragmatic ethos that propelled Mongol expansion. Moreover, the Mongolian emphasis on interconnectivity remains deeply relevant in our globalized world. Picture the Mongol system of communication, the yam as a precursor to today's fast-paced digital networks. This extensive relay system not only facilitated rapid communication across vast distances, but also enabled trade and information exchange, much like modern technology does today, underscoring the timeless importance of a connected infrastructure in ensuring cohesive governance and economic prosperity. In the realm of international relations, the diplomatic tactics employed by Genghis Khan, combining diplomacy with strategic might, aligned with the balancing act faced by contemporary leaders. Imagine a diplomat at a global summit adopting the blend of negotiation and strength that was a hallmark of Mongolian diplomacy, illustrating the enduring relevancy of these strategies in managing global complexities. Historians still argue how Genghis Khan's military tactics have informed modern strategic doctrines. His use of mobility, psychological warfare, and adaptability finds echoes in today's military academies. The Mongol ability to swiftly adapt to changing conditions offers valuable lessons for entities maneuvering through the unpredictability of modern challenges. In the sphere of cultural globalization, Genghis Khan's legacy of open borders and religious tolerance presents a framework for multiculturalism, an idea that remains pivotal in a world grappling with diversity and inclusion. The Mongol Empire welcomed scholars and artisans from across cultures, much like today's societies that thrive on the integration of diverse perspectives and talents. A quirky modern application of his legacy is found in the widespread popularity of practices such as mindfulness and spiritual retreats, echoing the ancient shamanistic traditions that were interwoven with daily Mongol life, albeit translated into contemporary expressions that seek balance and insight in a fast-paced world. Perhaps less overtly acknowledged, the Mongol legacy reminds us of the importance of resilience and adaptability in the face of adversity. Imagine the logistical prowess and resourcefulness shown by the Mongols as guiding tenets for today's organizations, overcoming the challenges of a volatile environment. lessons in persistence and ingenuity that continue to inspire. As the morning sun bathes the present in warmth, acknowledge how Genghis Khan's legacy threads subtly through our contemporary endeavours. Allow yourself to see the broad strokes of history that shape our everyday lives, and appreciate how these ancient strategies and ideologies form a bridge across time, guiding progress and shaping our understanding of leadership, innovation, and connectivity. With the day unfolding anew, let these reflections blend seamlessly into your thoughts, carrying you into an awareness enriched by history's teachings. As you engage with the present, remember the timeless echoes of Genghis Khan's influence woven into the tapestry of our modern world, a reminder that the past continually informs the future, offering lessons of strength, unity, and vision to those who seek its wisdom. As the journey through the vast expanse of Genghis Khan's empire reaches its end, allow yourself to reflect on the intricate mosaic we've traversed together, a tapestry woven from the threads of history's grandeur and the subtle whispers of everyday life in the Mongol epoch. In conclusion, consider how these elements, vibrant and enduring, continue to shape our world with their indelible imprint. Standing amidst the ephemeral echo of past conquests and cultural exchanges, envision the empire's legacy as both a testament to human ambition and an intricate web of practical wisdom. From the boundless steppe to the bustling cities along the Silk Road, the Mongol influence crosses the boundaries of time and geography, suffusing our modern consciousness with lessons of resilience, strategy, and adaptability. Reflect on how this exploration unfolded, each chapter revealing aspects of an empire marked by paradox and power. An empire that united diverse peoples under a banner of shared destiny, weaving a fabric of interconnectedness that foreshadowed the globalized world we inhabit today. The towering figure of Genghis Khan, both feared and revered, exemplifies the dual nature of leadership that engages with vision yet contends with challenge and contradiction. Historians, scholars, and storytellers have unraveled the complexity of this era, highlighting the transformative impact the Mongol Empire has had on revealing avenues of trade and communication, the framework of governance, cultural synthesis, and military strategy. Each facet serves as a lens through which we glimpse not only a distant past, but also the ever-present call to understand and learn from it. The quirky traditions, fierce pragmatism, and profound insights we have encountered become part of our collective memory, a resource available for reflection as we navigate our contemporary complexities. Whether marveling at the sweeping innovation of the Yam system or pondering the cultural fusion nurtured within the empire's embrace, we continue to unravel the skein of human progress, enriched by the legacy left by those who came before. Now, as we bring this journey to a serene close, let the imagery of steppe horizons, ceremonial gatherings, and spirited exchanges gently fade into the background of your consciousness, like the closing act of a grand historical symphony. Find solace in the understanding that each step you've taken aligns with the rhythm of time, guiding your dreams with echoes of adventure and discovery. Soften into the embrace of night's quietude, where the stories of history weave into the soft tapestry of sleep, their cadence lulling you into a profound and restorative rest. As your journey draws to a gentle conclusion, allow the golden rays of memory to tuck you tenderly under the vast canopy of stars. Let the whispers of time and legacy cradle you into slumber, wrapping you warmly in dreams where history's vast canvas invites endless exploration and reflection. Rest now under the silent vigil of eternity, where Mongol winds carry you softly to dreams, promising the peaceful repose tomorrow may bring. Greater than greater than greater than greater than end of script. Sweet dreams.